How's it going, everyone? Welcome to 49ers Coast to Coast. I'm on the West Coast, Grant Cohn. That's Jason Aponte of the East Coast, representing the East Coast, out of the East Coast. I love when people say that, out of. Yeah, you're out of Jersey. I'm out of Oakland. And today we're going to be talking about quarterbacks. We have to, but we're going to keep it to a minimum, and we're going to sandwich it in between a whole lot of other stuff because I know you want to talk about quarterbacks, but at the same time, you don't want us to talk about quarterbacks because it's all we do, and it's been nonstop speculation. It's time for them to actually pick one. So let's start with the stuff they did yesterday, Jason. They signed a running back, Wayne Gallman. I mean, I'm not going to say, do you like the signing or not? Because we don't even know what they're paying him yet. But just, what do you make of it?
Well, I mean, for me, this feels like a replacement for Tevin Coleman. And me being here in Jersey, I've seen a lot of Wayne Gallman, and particularly playing fantasy football as well. And I know that that doesn't mean anything, but when Saquon Barkley went down, Wayne Gallman was solid. And if anybody remembers against Seattle last year, 16 carries, 135 yards. What I really saw from him is that a guy who was very solid, very much involved in the pass game here and there, just a better Tevin Coleman, basically. So I see him making this roster. I really do. It doesn't take the 49ers away from drafting a running back, which is what I think they still will do. But Wayne Gallman is very solid. I was very happy with the move. Another thing that I took, there was about a 5 or 6 game stretch from last year where yards after contact are through the roof, and that would have been the highest on the team. He's a tough back. He's very solid. He's just understated, and he just sat behind Saquon Barkley. He's a solid move, and if he replaces Tevin Coleman and he becomes a part of this rotation, having a rotation of Mostert, Wilson, and Gallman, and let's say they draft somebody, that's a very, very, very solid backfield and will lend itself more to the rotation that Kyle Shanahan wants to run.
Yeah, he's 215 pounds, which would make him the biggest of the rotation. And, I saw him once last year when the Niners played the Giants, and he wasn't super impressive, but again, it was going against a good defense. Plus, Jason Garrett was the play caller. I remember thinking man, Jason, you have adjusted your play calling 0% since you left the Cowboys. I remember Vish said it at the time, you're calling plays like your running back is Ezekiel Elliott. What are you doing? You can't just call a dive into the middle of the line on 1st and 10 every play. So I think Kyle could look at him and be well, he runs hard. He's fast. He was in a ridiculous system with a ridiculous play caller last year. Put him in my system, get him outside the tackles. He might be pretty good. I mean, he did average 4.6 yards per carry last year. So
the other thing is, too, is if I remember correctly in that game, I think he rushed for 5 yards, 7 yards on 5 rushes. But that was Javon Kinlaw eating up space. And again, they were out of their game plan because they got down, in that game. Remember, that was right after all the stuff happened with Bosa, Garoppolo, all in the same game. And then they went out there and they whipped the Giants. So, game script had a lot to do with why Wayne Gallman wasn't, in there and all those other things that you alluded to.
Right. When they signed him, I was surprised because I didn't know his box score from last season. I was just they kind of shut him down. I'm surprised they were impressed. But then you go back and look at his box score. It is impressive. It is. And then I didn't know that he played that well against Seattle. All you got to do is turn on that one tape and be oh, yeah, okay. So we both think he's going to make the team. He'll be in the rotation. Does this final question on what this means? Do you think this means they're not going to draft a running back?
I don't think that. It's good to have as many bodies as possible. Remember, the 49ers are missing Jerick McKinnon and Tevin Coleman, who were part of their rotation last year.
Good point.
So doesn't necessarily mean that they're out on a running back. I would actually still expect them in this draft to address it and draft a running back.
Someone more with Jerick McKinnon's skill set.
Maybe. I mean, that's a Michael Carter. If you off the top of my head, you feel it. I love that, but I don't know. Again, the guy I want is Javonte at 43, but I don't know, what's going to happen. I could see a scenario where they trade back and recoup picks and still get a running back. So it's going to be interesting to see how they do it. But my prediction is that they're probably still going to address the running back position in the draft somehow. You
really love a draft prospect when you just call him by his first name.
Javonte. So whenever I post his film clips, I just put Javonte in big letters. That's it. Javonte.
Speaks for itself. All right. Same question. What do you make of the Arden Key signing?
Yeah, just a better Deion Jordan. Again, when it comes to pass rush, you can never have too many guys there as well. If you were banking on someone to get the potential of Arden Key out, it is Chris Kasarik. So I understand the move. And again, it's best to have as many options as possible. You know, you lost Kerry Hyder. You know, do you know what Samson Ibukam is? Do you know if D4 is going to actually do anything? There's nothing wrong with loading up on this, and especially when it comes to guys who are as athletically gifted as Arden Key. So I completely understand it. And, you know, as, you know, I think it was Andrew said on our podcast last night, it's almost like pitchers. You can never have too many, especially when it comes to edge rushers. So I love the move, honestly. Again, it's a low risk, high reward move. Sit in the same lane as a Deion Jordan, a guy who's going to be rotational. You always want fresh legs. And again, we still don't know if Nick Bosa is going to go right back to a full on count, you know, snap count regimen. Is it going to be every single down, or is it going to be here and there? So you're going to have to try to spell him if he ends up being tired, or if you're not trying to put too much pressure on that knee. So I like it. These are two very solid under the radar moves. Not going to get anyone excited, but I understand the vision.
I liked Arden Key when he came out of LSU. I remember he had really good reviews in his first training camp with the Raiders. All the beat writers were saying that no one could block him, that he was making, I think, Colton Miller look bad, I believe. Everyone liked him, and then he never really produced in the NFL. Although I was looking at his box score, a lot of quarterback hits, not many sacks, which makes me feel like there's potential there.
There is, and yeah. QB hits and pressures are the things that I look to. Sacks are fickle. Yep. Sacks can happen because if the pressure's coming from one way and they turn right into you, you get the sack. You didn't do anything. I mean, you were rushing the passer, but you didn't apply that pressure. So pressures and hits are the way that I really evaluate quarterbacks. Sacks are great because that means you finished the job, but that's not indicative of your actual impact on the game, in my opinion.
So here's the thing. The Raiders drafted Arden Key, and he gave him nothing. They felt he was worthless. They didn't even try to bring him back, and the Niners get him for, I'm guessing, like close to the vet min. Mm-hmm. The Raiders, on the other hand, look at the Niners and like, you know what? You guys messed up Solomon Thomas. We want Solomon Thomas. Give us him for what, $5 million? So the Raiders are betting that the Niners were wrong on Solomon Thomas. The Niners are betting that the Raiders were wrong on Arden Key. And you know what? I think the Niners are going to end up being right. I think Arden Key is going to be a lot better than Solomon Thomas.
Well, if you look at what happened with Kerry Hyder last year, that's really what you have to point to, is a guy who's been solid, but it gets turned around with Kocurek. So again, you know, and then when you really focus
Jordan Willis, Deion Jordan, I mean, all of them.
Yeah. Exactly. And they all had their impact here and there in games, but it was because of the system that they were in. Now, if you're talking about bringing back all of those other pieces to have them complement that, what are we talking about? That's a perfect move right there. You know, if you do have Nick Bosa on the other side and you're sending him, he's likely to see those single coverages. So I understand exactly what they're doing, and they're betting on talent. They're betting on their guys to, you know, make the most of that talent. So,
okay, we made it about 8 minutes without talking quarterbacks.
All right, that was a record.
That was not bad.
Good.
That was not bad
at all.
Let's just do. I got 2 quarterback questions and then we're off it. All right. This is it. So Rich Eisen, 2 million followers. I've been watching him on TV since I was a little kid. He's a big deal, and he's connected in the NFL. He casually says on his radio show yesterday, I'm hearing the Niners are going to draft Trey Lance. Oh, okay. Why do you think Rich Eisen thinks the 49ers are going to draft Trey Lance? Because no one else has said that.
No, but, you know, I think that it's basically down to 2 guys. It's Fields and Lance. So he's going to be right. It's a 50-50 shot of him being right. Okay. He's probably putting all the pieces together about, they met with Trey Lance's parents and the Shanahan stuff, and look how he fits and look at his face. So
look at his face.
Yeah, I mean, look at Kyle Shanahan's face when Trey Lance hits somebody's deep. Yeah, just like just like
I thought you were doing the Jimmy Garoppolo version of scouting quarterbacks. It's like, yeah, man, that's a hell of a. Would you see that line?
He is a really, really big guy. But no, I mean, I think it's more like, I'm not trying to downplay whatever it is that he thinks he knows. But I do believe in my heart that it is Fields or Lance. Okay. And he's making his assumption based on that. So no one knows, but he thinks, and he wouldn't be off. Like that's not the craziest thing in the world. Is that what I preferably want over Justin Fields? No. Would I be shocked if it was Trey Lance? Nope. So
I wouldn't be shocked either. I just think it's funny. He said it in such a way that made you think he's saying he heard something. He said, he's not saying like, hey, look, this is an educated guess. This is me putting, what I'm hearing is they're going to take Trey Lance. And again, we know the Niners don't leak. So this is very interesting. Where are you hearing this from? And why did they want to put this out there? My theory, I was just on a couple hours ago with Jesse Naylor. I don't know if you know him, but I floated this theory to him and he was intrigued. My thing is that I think the Niners want Zach Wilson. And I think they've been one after another leaking their interest in Mac Jones to see if they can get the Jets to blink. And like the Mac Jones thing was like a laugher. Like the Jets almost laughed him out of the building. It's like, dude, we don't even like Mac Jones as much as Sam Darnold. Keep trying. So they moved on to Justin Fields. And I don't know if it had the desired effect. So with 8 days left, they float this to Rich Eisen to see if they can get the Jets to blink. That's my theory. But they might take him. They might take him.
Yeah,
who knows?
Yeah. I mean, honestly, like I said, if there's a world where Justin Fields goes second, I'm running to the podium to send Zach Wilson's card up there. But that doesn't mean that that's what the 49ers are thinking. And I don't know that. Like, again, I think that if Fields goes 2, then it's a lock for Lance. And then after that, it's going to be a free-for-all for people trying to get to 4 to get Zach Wilson after that. So, yeah, I mean, it's an interesting thought. Again, I'm going to keep saying what I've been saying. This is why I don't really want to talk quarterback so much, because we just continue to repeat ourselves over and over.
Yes.
He's got his sources. He thinks he knows what he knows. Let's just let it play out at this point. But if you're asking me, the leaders in the clubhouse are Fields and Lance.
I just think it was predictable. Like, as soon as Justin Fields had his pro day, I said, okay, well, then next week, someone's going to say that Trey Lance is the guy because he's having his pro day next week. And boom. I didn't know it was going to be Rich Eisen, but it ended up being Rich Eisen. So, Rich, you win.
You fell for the trap.
You win the bingo contest here. All right. Second and final quarterback question. But this is something we haven't talked about. I think this is interesting. When I first brought you on, the first inaugural episode of 49ers Coast to Coast, if I remember correctly, your favorite quarterback was Trey Lance. Now, this was early in the process. We hadn't watched all of our opinions evolve. I'm just curious as to how you evolved to preferring Justin Fields. I'm really curious.
First thing I had to do, this is my first year doing this. First thing I had to do was strip away all of the narratives that are thrown at me. OSU people can't, put together quarterbacks, run first, can't read the field, things like that. Okay, so in the beginning, you hear all those things, and it starts to cloud your own evaluation, right? So when I dug into Trey Lance's tape, what I saw immediately was I saw the rocket arm, I saw the Shanahan concepts, I saw exactly how he fits, and I thought, man, this is an amazing fit. Mm-hmm. Then I really dug into Justin Fields, and I saw the accuracy to all 3 levels. I saw the toughness and all those things that were not presented as the first thing you hear about Justin Fields started to pop off in my mind. And that's when things started to change. It didn't change from, oh, I'm completely off of Trey Lance. It just changed from, I prefer Justin Fields because for me, Trey Lance can start week 1, but I would prefer he sat 1 year. I think Justin Fields is more ready to go this year. And again, that ties into it a little bit more as well. So when I saw them going up, when I tried to, tell nobody, because I'm just telling people on the show, nobody listens to me anyway. Hey, you have to get to 3 if you want to get your guy.
Yeah.
When they got to 3, I felt like, okay, this feels like they want to go. They have their guy and they know who it is. And I thought it was Justin Fields. But that doesn't take away from what I love about Trey Lance. And I know how Trey Lance fits in this offense. And like I said, I will not be upset even in the slightest if he's the pick. But yes, my process changed because I didn't know the process in the beginning. Okay, so I start with Trey Lance, and I'm taken by him, and I'm just like, look at all of these things. And then when you start to dig into everybody else, because remember, my thoughts have changed, from straight up hell no to Mac, and then like, okay, I kind of see it now. I see what you guys are talking about, but you have to be objective down the middle. So and that's the thing. So I
didn't like Trey Lance at all at the beginning.
No, you didn't.
I wrote him off.
Remember,
and now the more I hear, the more I hear about him, the more I interview people that have coached him. I'm like, oh, okay. I definitely see the upside here. I can see it. I mean, 300 throws, it's a whole lot of faith and guessing, but I totally see the positives and why people like him. It seems to me that what you're saying is you feel Justin Fields is just more pro ready, more of a sure thing.
Yeah. I mean, right now he is, but I had to figure out, and this is part of the process that I'm going through now when I talk with other people, I had to figure out what ceiling meant, right? And upside, because people use those words when they can't quantify what it is they're trying to say. Mm-hmm. So I was taken by, oh my goodness, he looks like, Josh Allen down the line if he plays well, if he moves, and those things. But then again, you have to kind of project where they're going to go as opposed to what you see. So like last night, on sprint right option, that's a nice little plug. Vish and I, we did our quarterback comps across the board for all 5.
Yeah.
And we really got to a good discussion about what you notice about him now doesn't mean what he will be. So if I comp a player to them, I'm not telling you that that's their ceiling. I'm telling you what I see right now. But
fair. Yeah. Okay. So I guess my question is, you anticipated it. Mm-hmm. I know you like Justin Fields better, and I'm not trying to get you to change I'm just asking follow-ups.
Yeah.
Do you think Justin Fields also has a higher ceiling than Trey Lance? Depending on what how you define ceiling. Okay, why?
I do. Only because he's ready to go now. And what I see is, the one thing that Trey kind of struggles with is the accuracy thing. And that's what Justin has in spades, and that's what I'm talking about. So that's the thing, right? So he's pro ready now. And if he evolves from what he is now, that is very scary. If you're talking about 3-4 years down the line and he starts to hit a ceiling, his ceiling is like Dak Prescott Turbo Edition. True. Like absolute Turbo Edition.
Only thing that concerns me about Fields, and I know we've had this discussion before, we'll stop in a second, I swear, is the time he holds the ball is 3.11 seconds. That's a long time, and it's not. There's any number of factors that go into that, but I guess, and it's funny. I just interviewed Jim Mora Jr. about Justin Fields, and one of the things he liked about Justin Fields was his decision making. He's a great decision maker. I mean, look at his TD to INT ratio. So it's hard to even say, but when you look at the time he has holding the ball, and then those clips of his picks against Indiana, it's like, what are your instincts when things break down? Like, are you trying to do a little too much? One of the things I like about Trey Lance as I've dug into him is he checks the ball down. He gets the ball out of his hands. He's decisive. There are little things about Trey that I like a lot. Not to take things away from Justin.
And here's the other thing. Everybody likes to point to me about the interception thing.
It's like one or two plays. They're just concerning. It's like
no, but no, I'm not talking about Justin Fields. I'm talking about Trey. So Trey had a perfect season, no interceptions. Did you watch all the games though? Because
no, I'm sure there are a few.
There's dropped interceptions. Yeah. So
everyone has that.
So look, again, numbers have to line up with film, and it has to all make sense. So like
Deshaun Watson threw a bunch of picks in college. It's just honestly one play from Justin Fields. It's playing against Indiana. He's going down. It should be a sack, and it's not his fault. It was not his fault. But like a foot and a half off the ground, he throws it up for grabs. And that's just that one play that's like, I guess it's hard to just that's really hypercritical to look at one play. But you know what I'm talking about, right?
Of course. I told you that's my negative with Justin Fields is that sometimes you gotta just live to play another down sometimes.
Dude, and
he's relying on his athleticism because he knows he can make a play, and so I'm not gonna knock him for that because sometimes that works. Yes. But sometimes throw that ball away, maybe take that sack sometimes. That's it.
And I just like that such a crazy athlete. I feel like most athletes have that problem at quarterback. Like, why would I want to get rid of the ball? Good things happen when I hold it. That's true. It's been like that your whole life. But Trey Lance is one of these rare mega athletes who's also like almost safety first, man. And he's very mature for an inexperienced quarterback. I didn't expect that. I mean, he's
very smart.
Super smart. Anyway, that's enough quarterbacks for the day. Thank you for indulging me, everyone. Thank you. Jason, thank you for indulging me. Everyone, thanks for putting up with it. Now we're going to get back to the good stuff. Cornerback. When should the Niners draft one, and who should it be, and why?
Man, I mean, if Trent Baalke was here, I mean, I know it's not an ACO, but he would try to get Caleb Farley as quickly as possible. Yeah, but Caleb Farley has a chance to be cornerback one. It's just the back injury is going to make him slide. And I think that the 49ers definitely should draft the cornerback. And I've talked about it. You tweeted about it. Yeah. And remember, I wanted AJ Boye. I told you, again.
That was one of the rare negative tweets that popped off. Like, Niner fans were like, hey, man, he's got a point.
Yeah, you do.
He's got a point. Yeah,
you do. So look, basically, again, I hate to go down this road. I don't want to, go negative or anything like that. But Jason Verrett's season last year, is that the exception or the rule? And if he's injured,
and he did pull his hamstring and miss half of training camp, so you got to be prepared for at least him to miss it sometime. You got to be prepared. Yeah.
Yep. So I mean, that's the thing. It's that injury happens. Mosley right now is the starter. After that, the depth becomes Webster, Tim Harris. Spoon's not even here. Dante Johnson. Spoon's not even here anymore. No. So you either have to address this in the draft, which I think you should, because then you reset the clock on that, and it's somebody that's going to be there for years before you have to pay them. Mm-hmm. Or you address, you should do both, honestly. Casey Hayward should be signed, and you should draft someone right now at this point. The thing is last year, what was shown was that when the pass rush disappeared, the secondary actually picked up the slack.
Hell yeah.
And if the secondary takes any sort of drop off and Nick Bosa can't do what he was normally doing,
bad defense.
Bad defense, it'll slide. It'll regress. It'll
definitely regress. There's only so much Fred Warner can do in the middle. He's a great player. But without a pass rush or good coverage, you're going to have a tough time against the pass at least.
Yeah, the cornerback room gets super thin if Jason Verrett goes down. It gets very thin, and then you're caught in those, you're caught with a Brian Allen moment where you have to play somebody because
you just give away a game because of one player, one position.
Yeah.
Shame.
You don't want to have that happen again.
No.
That should be your point to why you should have more cornerbacks in that room.
So second round, do we agree?
Yes. Yeah, I think so. I would love it. I would love it at 43, but I would love them to move back into the second round somehow and take a corner if he's there. Keith Taylor.
You mean like the back end of round 2?
Yeah. Yeah.
I was saying they could even move into the back end of round 1 if there's someone they really like.
If they want to send 43 and move up, and if there's somebody there, like if Caleb Farley's there, you take a swing on that. I swear you take a swing on that. You have to, even if his back is
okay. I haven't really watched much of him. I just know about his injury history, and it scares me, not because of who he is, but because of the 49ers history. I feel like if there's a team that needs to like stop and admit they have a problem, it's them. But I know he kind of shut down Chase Claypool a couple of years ago, and people really like him. So can you just give me a little primer on Caleb Farley?
Yeah, he's sticky. He's all over the ball. The best person to look at it is Crocker. Crocker will tell you the same thing, that he's probably his cornerback 1, if not for the injuries. So
he's faster than Horn.
Yeah. So he's got Horn up there at 1. Because Horn is great, but Caleb Farley would be the cornerback 1 if it wasn't for the injury concerns. So it's a good discussion. I think that he's really good in man-to-man. He's good in zone, and he sticks to the ball, and he's, it's just the back injury. Back injuries are fickle because even people who specialize in back injuries will tell you, I can't tell you what's going on with your back right now. Like it's the weirdest thing ever. Look at D Ford.
The Niners should know with D Ford. That's the thing. I'm saying, guys, be careful. You know how fickle this is and how unpredictable, and you're having problems with it. Hey, be careful. The thing, I feel like the Niners are looking to, I don't know. I feel like they're looking to replace Ahkello Witherspoon. He wasn't what they wanted in the sense that Jerick McKinnon wasn't quite what they wanted, but they have a clear vision of what they want. Mm-hmm. And in the case of Ahkello Witherspoon, it's that 6'3" corner who can play man or zone, who can match up with DK Metcalf. And there's one corner in this draft available right around 43. I haven't done a whole lot of investigation, but his name is Ifeatu Melifonwu.
Melifonwu from Syracuse.
Yeah, his older brother's on the team. He's 6'3". I don't know how he tested other than that, but seems to me like that's going to be someone the Niners are interested in.
I like him. He can move around. In Mobile, he was moving around in the slot. He was outside. He was in the box. He was moving around a lot. I like him. He's very versatile. And if we know anything about the 49ers as far as offense and defense, is that versatility is invaluable to them.
Perfect. All right, cool. Next one. 2 more topics. The Niners worked out Tony Jefferson. Mm-hmm. It seems to me we just said that cornerback is a really big need. You could argue safety is a big need too. How big of a need is it in your opinion?
Well, it is in the terms of, Jimmy Ward has put together 2 seasons of being relatively healthy. So, maybe he's turned the corner in that way.
Yep.
Love Jaquaski, but, every single year he's been injured. You bring him back for next to nothing as well.
And he signed for only 1 year. Yep.
Right. For 1 year. Behind that, you have Marcel Harris and you have God, why am I blanking on his name? Yes.
Because he's not that good. Tavarius Moore. Sorry.
No.
I'm sorry. But yeah, he's had years on the team. He really hasn't established himself. It's not like he's the heir apparent.
No, so they've got 4 guys, right? And then here's the thing. Here's why you maybe go for another safety, right? Is because in a pinch, Jimmy Ward can play slot corner. In a pinch, right? Sure. And that's not really what you want him to do, but you can move people
around. And K1 misses time. So yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. So all these things kind of lend itself to the secondary kind of needs help all around. And it wouldn't be a shock to me if, Tony Jefferson, I think, is going to get signed. I don't think you bring him in, because Gallman, they brought him in for a visit and they wound up signing him. I don't know what's holding this up, whether it's money or maybe he's got interest somewhere else. Yeah. I mean, but it tells you what they're thinking. If they didn't have any issues with the secondary, or if they didn't have any issues with the safety spot, they wouldn't be bringing in Tony Jefferson for that. And again, best to be proactive than reactive, because you don't know how injuries are going to play out, and that you can't. Not that you can't count on them, but history has shown you that Jimmy Ward is going to be banged up 1 or 2 games in a season, maybe Tart as well. So It doesn't hurt to bring in somebody who's solid, because Marcel Harris is fine. Tavarius Moore still needs to pick up a lot as far as coverages and understanding stuff, because he lets things go over his head, and that doesn't happen when the normal guys are there. So you bring in a veteran, you have somebody that you can plug and play, and I think that's what Tony Jefferson is. So if it wasn't an issue, they wouldn't be bringing in Tony Jefferson.
I don't think that either Ward or Tart is as good as Verrett. So if either one gets hurt, it doesn't have necessarily catastrophic impact. Also, neither one plays. Verrett's corner is a more important position, but we've seen consistently when Jaquaski Tart goes out, the defense takes a big hit, big time.
especially in the red zone and explosive plays.
Yes, absolutely. And when Ward hasn't missed much time the last couple of years, but when he did miss time before, they never had an answer at free safety without him. So I think safety is not as big of a need as cornerback, but top 5. I mean, it's right there.
They'll address it, whether that's free agency or the draft.
Jefferson it could be one of them. And I forget that the Niners have they have 2 former DCs on their staff right now that weren't there last year. The guy from Detroit, whose name escapes me, Undlin, but the other guy is Betcher. Mm-hmm. Betcher was in New York the last couple of years, but before then he was in Arizona, and I believe he coached Tony Jefferson. So new guy with players that he's familiar with.
That's good. I didn't know that.
Yeah, Tony Jefferson.
There you go.
There you go. All right, last topic.
Nailing it.
Watch me be wrong on that. No, I think I'm right. All right. So we've been talking about who the Niners need to get as their number 3 receiver. Wide receiver is always a fun topic. The Niners like to draft them early, but it does strike me that there are some names, there's some bodies on this team at wide receiver that we're not thinking about. I mean, there's Jalen Hurd, there's Richie James, there's Mo Sanu, and there's Travis Benjamin. Travis Benjamin has been a number 3 receiver for a long time. He's 31 years old. I don't know why the Niners brought him in. I don't know what their plan was for him last year. He opted out. He's still around. I forget that he's on the team. Do you think he's in their plans at all? What do you think is the deal with Travis Benjamin?
Maybe punt returner at this point. You know, I mean, that's really what I would see. Honestly, Travis Benjamin never really struck me as anything more than a camp body. You also, when you were listing your wide receivers, you forgot the biggest
River. Probably. Did you know that Zach Wilson follows River Craycraft on Instagram? It's the truth.
Uh-oh.
It's the truth.
Uh-oh. Boom. Zach to San Francisco confirmed.
There you go. Thank River Craycraft for sealing the deal.
No, honestly, I expect them to address it in the draft, whether it's somebody like Amari Rodgers, somebody later on in the draft that we talked about, you know, Austin Watkins, Marquez Stevenson, guys like that later on. They would definitely address. Marquez Stevenson and Austin Watkins are probably going to go 5-6.
That sounds right. That sounds
right. You know, and they always wind up taking a wide receiver, right? Jawan Jennings the year before, you know, so they'll make a move. Austin Watkins, incredible story. The kid has 1 drop in his entire career, and he could name it for you immediately. He knew exactly what it was, and he wasn't shy about, man, this is how hard I work. I know exactly what the drop was, what the play was, and everything. And you know, he really has a solid work ethic, and the 49ers have reached out to him. They've spoken. You know, his mother works 3 jobs. His mother works 3 jobs. And the thing that I walked away with when I heard him speak was, you haven't made it in the league until you get your second contract. And I thought that was really good. So Austin Watkins is somebody like that. Craycraft will be the new Kendrick Bourne. Probably not. I think they're just going to draft somebody. I think that's it. They're definitely going to draft somebody. And then again, the reason that you need to draft somebody is because Deebo Samuel gets injured.
Yeah.
You know, you can't run out. You know, we saw what a potential wide receiver group could look like if everyone is injured. Deebo was hurt. You know, Deebo was out. Ayuk had COVID. You ran out. Craycraft, Richie James, Kevin White was out there. That's how bad it can look if you don't really address this. So Travis Benjamin, while he provides that deep threat because he still is fast, I don't really see him having an impact on this team, especially not as a number 3.
Yeah, I mean, they like Jawan Jennings. They like Jalen Hurd. I'm sure they'd like one of those guys to emerge, but I was at training camp. Jawan Jennings did nothing. Jalen Hurd, he seems impressive that 2 weeks that he played that one time. So I don't know. It seems like they got to definitely draft a wide receiver, but maybe not in round 2. If they take a wide receiver over a corner, I'd have a problem with that. But I don't think they will.
Depends on the receiver. You know, this receiver group is really, really deep. You know, like somebody like Newsome from North Carolina, if he's on the board at cornerback and you can take him there, I have no problem with that as well too. But, you know, I kind of just been going off of previous draft classes. They always find a way to address wide receiver, and I don't think that this year is going to be any different. So I see it happening. I just don't know what round. And it depends on who they like, honestly. We don't know. We didn't know that Brandon Ayuk was so high on their board, you know, last year. You know, but that's different. He's a number 1 wide receiver. So as far as that, you know, it just depends on who they covet. I love Amari Rodgers because he profiles like Debo. Marquez Stevenson's really good. Austin Watkins is really good. You know, there's like Frank Darby. There's other guys. There's plenty of guys in this draft, honestly. This is a very deep class for wide receivers.
If they're looking for like a Kendrick Bourne type in the mid rounds, is there one? Or if they're looking for a Trent Taylor type, because they like that type too. And Wes Welker's their guy.
Amari Rodgers isn't super fast. You know, he could live in that intermediate range just like they do. You know, Kendrick Bourne's really good at getting to the sticks and making clutch catches. I'm not trying to downplay him at all. So, like, that's something that's not going to be easily replaced. As much as people want to say that about Kendrick Bourne, you know, understanding those big plays and making them happen are two different things. And he does really well with those things. And that will be missed. It definitely will. And especially if, God forbid, this team takes on injuries like they did last year at receiver or anywhere else. Yeah, I mean, it's going to be something they have to address. I just don't see Travis Benjamin as being the one who will be the Kendrick Bourne type.
You hear that, Travis? He's betting against you. What are you going to do about it, Travis? He's calling you out, Jason.
He's going to yell at me. He's going to yell at me on Twitter.
Jason, man, thanks so much for coming on. I really appreciate it, man.
Grant, thank you, man. It's been a good day today. Got credentialed for the NFL events and stuff today. So, you know, stuff is happening. Yeah, so I can't. Yeah. So the bloggers are, you know, we're moving up a little bit, you know.
So what's your first event going to be?
So it would have been the draft, but the actual cutoff date was April 9th. I got my approval today, so when I was able to log in, it was still there, but they also said April 9th. But whatever is the next event, whether that's whatever, I don't know what it's going to be, especially when it comes to COVID. You know, I'll have a shot. I'll have a seat at the table. I just got to find my way out there.
That's so cool, man. You're coming up, Jason, making moves
because of you. Because of you.
You're the star.
Because of you.
Appreciate you. Appreciate you, man. Thanks, everyone, for watching. See you tomorrow.